Now I will give you some specific tips for dealing with the terrible twos, or as I like to call them, the terrific twos. When my kids were little, I never used this term, the terrible twos, and I always disliked it when people referred to it in this way because so much of it is your perspective in terms of how you will deal with this age. So I always called it the terrific twos, and I really do believe that this is such a wonderful age. While there may be some challenges for this age, it's also one of the it's such an adorable age. So at any rate, here are some very specific tips for dealing with this age and bringing the best out of your child. So the first one is to be flexible. Learn the child's natural rhythms and special likes and dislikes. So make sure that you get to know the child. And then while it is good to have a routine and to have structure, you don't want to be overly rigid. You need to also be flexible and roll with it when the situation calls for it. The next one, think of yourself as a safe harbor with safe limits from which a child can set out and discover the world to which the child can keep coming back for support. The next one, make your home child friendly. So make sure to child proof your home, put anything dangerous or breakable out of the child's reach, and this will just make your life so much easier. Next, very important, avoid physical punishment. So really never use physical punishment with the child. It's ineffective for many different reasons. One reason why is because physical punishment teaches the child what not to do, but it does nothing in terms of teaching the child what to do. It also is based in fear, and fear-based learning is never effective, and it can often backfire. And another major reason to avoid physical punishment is because that can be a precursor to full-blown abuse of the child, and we don't want that. Now, another thing you can do is offer a choice, even a limited one, to give the child some control. Keep in mind that children are exactly like adults, and they want to feel like they have some control, just like you or I want to feel that way. So by giving them a choice, this gives the child a sense of control. So for example, you could ask them, would you like to have your bath now or after we read a book? A simple tip that really makes a big difference. The next one, be consistent. The next one, don't interrupt an activity unless absolutely necessary. Try to wait until the child's attention has shifted. If you do this, this will do a lot for developing a strong attention span for the child. Next, if you must interrupt, give a warning. For example, say, we have to leave the playground soon so that you don't catch the child off guard and that the child can prepare. Next, suggest alternative activities when behavior becomes objectionable. So for example, when Ashley is throwing sand in Kiko's face, say, oh look, nobody's on the swings now, let's go over and I'll give you a good push. Next, try to suggest, don't command, accompany requests with smiles or hugs, not criticism or threats. Link requests with pleasurable activities. Say, it's time to stop playing so that we can go to the store with me. Remind the child of what you expect, so give clear expectations. You can say something like, when we go to this playground, we never go outside the gate. Wait a few moments before repeating a request when a child doesn't comply immediately. Use a timeout to end conflicts, and I'll be giving you a lot more specific details regarding how to correctly use the timeout method in the near future. Expect less self-control during times of stress, and expect it to be harder for toddlers to comply with do's than with don'ts. Clean up your room takes more effort than don't write on the furniture. And then keep the atmosphere as positive as possible. Make your child want to cooperate. Now, some further basic principles. Use the word no sparingly. So as I mentioned, remember, children are just like adults, except they're just little people, but they have the same, feelings that we do. So just like you wouldn't want someone following you around all day, chasing you around and saying no to every single thing you're doing, children don't want that either. And so if you overuse the word no, the child will likely want to rebel against that. So try to state things in a positive and tell the child what to do as opposed to what not to do. So the classic example is, around the pool, instead of saying don't run, or no, stop running, tell the child what they should do. So say walk or something like that. Also, use timeout or other negative consequences sparingly, because if you overuse punishment, it loses its meaning and is ineffective. Another thing to do is examine the rule and make sure it is reasonable. If a child continues to break a rule, it often indicates that the rule is unrealistic, not that there is something wrong with the child. Because the tendency for adults is to blame the child and to say, why does this child keep breaking the rule? There must be something wrong with this child. When if you objectively examine the rule, often if a child repeatedly breaks a rule, there's something wrong with the rule, not with the child. So examine the rule and modify the rule to make it realistic and reasonable. This one here, the third one, always try altering the environment first to extinguish undesirable behavior. In many cases, that's all you have to do is alter the environment. You don't have to say no, you don't have to say anything. You simply alter the environment, and then that will eliminate the problematic behavior. Be generous with verbal praise and positive reinforcement. If you use lots of verbal praise and positive reinforcement, you will find you rarely, if ever, have to employ behavior modification or punishment. Distraction is also a perfectly good technique to use with small children. So if a child is about to get upset about something, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, look at these dinosaur toys over here, or something like that. And then the child will likely just forget about it. And there's nothing wrong with using that as a technique with small children. If the behavior is annoying but not harmful or dangerous to anyone, then simply ignore the behavior and it will naturally extinguish. So the truth is that sometimes little kids, they engage in behaviors that are irritating to adults, but they're not dangerous or harmful. So if that's the case, do your best not to have a strong reaction to the annoying behavior, because that could backfire and actually reinforce the behavior, and then the child will repeat the behavior, which is what you don't want. So if it's not a dangerous behavior, try ignoring it, and probably then the behavior will just naturally go away on its own. The child will stop engaging in that annoying behavior. And then as the adult, model the desired behavior so the child can follow your example. And those are some specific tips for you to use.